Hey, welcome to the Ministry Mix podcast, where we're bringing you real conversations for the souls and strategies of ministry leaders. I'm Phil Gifford, and I'm joined by my friend and co-host, Richard Pope.
Hey, hey, hey.
Whether you're a seasoned pastor or ministry leader or just stepping into leadership for the first time, we're here to share stories, insights, and practical tips to help you lead strategically while also caring for your soul. Each episode is designed to dive into topics that matter to your mission, your calling, and your personal growth. Today, we are talking about caring for the people you lead, but specifically caring for people that you lead on a Sunday morning context. And by Sunday morning, we mean like ministry time, like when your church gathers and when they're typically doing the ministry in that moment.
And I would even say we're talking in the context of Sunday morning because for Phil and I, lead pastors churches. But if you're a youth pastor, this could be your Wednesday night. If you're a kids ministry leader, this could be your prep time in the morning. This is any time when you're with the people that are in your church.
Yeah, and I would even expand. If you're in the office and the people, there's certain times in the office if you're leading, like this is just anytime you're with your people and they're doing stuff.
Do you actually go to your office?
I don't have an office.
We're in your office right now. We're currently in Phil's bedroom.
Richard and I have crossed a threshold in our relationship that I feel like our podcast listeners should know about.
I don't think you should say we crossed the threshold after I say we're in your bedroom.
Okay, good point. We are going to record. We batch record these podcasts, and we were going to try to record 5 or 6 today. And Richard's preaching for our church at an altar night, worship night tonight, and so he got at my house. The problem was Harford County Schools closed down schools, so all of my kids are at home doing their thing, and there's just not a quiet place in our house besides my bedroom. So Richard is here in my bedroom. Pam was kind enough to give us permission to set up here, and here we go. So
love it.
Next friendship level.
Yeah, the next level is he's going to come to my castle.
I can't wait to be at your castle. I've been to your castle though,
but we've not recorded in the castle.
I bet you next time we record, we'll be at your church
in that study.
It's
with the fireplace and the candles.
It's great.
And the Barry Manilow album.
Whatever works for you.
I'm just setting a romantic scene for our recording.
I'm glad that you and Peyton work together, but I'm not going there. So, going back to our topic, now that you know way too much about our friendship.
I was just caring for you.
I appreciate it. I don't feel seen.
I don't have a funny thing to say. Our topic is 4 ways to care for people on a Sunday morning. But again, you could apply this to other areas in your ministry. Phil, if you're good with it, I'll just jump right in.
Let's do it.
So one way that we think that you could care for someone is greeting them. And I know that sounds casual, but I know for me, I often fall into the rhythm of just, hey, 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 hey. You shout out someone's name as they're running around busily and you're running around busily. But actually taking the time to slow down and say, hey, so good to see you.
Yeah.
And thank them for, especially the people who serve in your church, thank them for serving. Ephesians chapter 2, verse 10, we are his workmanship, created in Christ Jesus for good works, which God prepared beforehand that we should walk in them. I think one of the most God-honoring things we can do as ministry leaders is honor and thank and encourage that. Mm-hmm. Hey, God created you. You're made in his image. You have value. So you deserve my hello, but you also deserve, an encouragement. You're doing what you were created to do. You're serving. I remember hearing, we have a pastoral, he's actually about to get ordained, Andrew, and he oversees all of our connection ministries. So greeting, hospitality. We have a homeless pantry he oversees, pantry for homeless people, parking. He does all that. And a lot of times those volunteers are the ones that you kind of just walk by. And I mean that I love these people, but it's not worship. It's not kids. It's not a stage leadership role.
Yeah.
They're not teaching. But one of the things he does is every week he'll do a rally with his team. So they all get together, regardless of what team they're serving on, and he'll pray. He'll do a 2-minute devo, and he'll remind them of our values as a church and why what they do matters. And this is what he says, something to this tune every week. He says, I want to thank you for showing up because you might be the only smile and hello somebody gets today.
Gotcha.
He gets really specific, and I think that matters.
No, that's so good. I was just thinking even through I joked around about not being seen, right? Like I made that joke. But when you go out of your way as a busy ministry leader, you've got I have tons of task lists. I got things that need to happen Sunday morning.
And you're portable.
And we're portable. Yeah. We're getting ready to teach. I'm usually fixing something or troubleshooting something or if, worship team preparing to preach. It's easy to ignore the people that are serving. But when you take your time to pause and go greet them, to say thank you, even just a shout across the room, I think it just shows that they're seen.
Yeah.
And we want them to know that as they minister. So like, I'm not always the perfect example of this, but like every week I try to walk through the greeting area. I try to walk through the nursery area and just thank the people for serving and just like, make sure that they know when they're back there, they're seen. And so greet them, say hi. Cause I think conversely, if we don't, or, if we don't greet them, they can just kind of feel like they're serving, in invisibility, and that can lead toward discouragement.
Yeah.
So, the second way that we can care for people on Sunday morning is actually, kind of listening and observing what's going on. And what I mean by that is say, how are you? Stop to listen, listen to what they're saying. When they share a need of something in their ministry area, I'm looking for this, or I need this, or we're doing this. Like sometimes it'll be just a really quick conversation. It's really easy to forget those moments. I have a famous, if someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, hey, we need X, Y, and Z," or I thought about this. You're running around preaching. You're running around doing this. It is so easy for that to get forgot. I forget about it by Monday. I forget about it by Sunday lunch. I forget about it by the time I turn around. Right?
Yeah.
So when someone tells you something, I just encourage them to practice like, hey, what you said to me is important.
Yeah.
The best thing you can do is text it to me or email it to me. But I'm going to also try to write it down and remember. So like, you're just listening to what they say, and kind of at the same time, you're just observing how they're doing.
Yeah.
Like when a ministry leader walks in, like despondent looking, if you know your people, you know when they're having a good day or a bad day. But I guess the whole point is of this second point is to just pay attention to people. And what they say matters. So listen to them, observe them, watch them, kind of see how they're doing ministry.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. I think what you said about listening matters. I heard once that, and I actually was a friend of ours, Adam Atassib. He said that good systems help us love people when our love fails. I think that it's important to have like ways ready. Someone tells you something on Sunday. Like my problem is I'll have college kids. I disciple a lot of college men. And we've gotten great ministry leaders out of it, but they'll come up to me on Sunday. Hey, what day can we meet this week? Because a lot of them aren't standing meetings. So every week I'm like scheduling 10 meetings.
Here's my open blocks. Yep.
Yeah. And I'm just never, I hope they don't listen to this. It's never convenient. They never come. It's like last song of worship, right? They're praying, sermon bumpers going. And we have a worship support team moving the pulpit on the stage. One of the college kids is in worship support. So his job is to help move music stands, shuffle the stage and get it ready. And he'll literally be pulling the pulpit up on stage and whisper, "Hey, what day can we meet this week?" And I'm like, what? So create a system to listen.
Yeah.
And for me, like that's been, hey, text me everything you just said.
Yeah.
And I love that you said that. Text me. I don't think that's unkind or makes you less of a pastor or less caring. I actually think it shows more care.
Yeah. And what you're saying is so valuable that I need to capture it in a specific way. Like, and we mentioned this in a podcast. I don't know what order we're airing all these episodes in, but like, listening is just a superpower to loving people. Be interested, not interesting. Like it's easy for us as ministry leaders to tell them all the things that we're doing and vision and, but sometimes just pausing to hear what they have to say and make sure you capture it, is really good. I think at the same time, associated to this listening idea, as we still the second way. Yeah. The observation, like, if we are actually listening and observing, I think we can catch burnout and discouragement before it gets deeply settled. Like, when you have your eyes open to your volunteers, if they're serving too much, if they don't feel supported. Sometimes we have our kids people, they tend to take on, like our kids leaders, sometimes they tend to take on all of if somebody calls out sick, I'll just jump in and serve. And so you're like, I've seen you in kids ministry for the last 6 weeks. How are you doing? Like, I know that's not like ideal. Like, right, obviously that's not our desire for you, is to be always having to be in our kids ministry instead of being in worship and things like that. So learning to see and even just saying, hey, I noticed that you were in there for 6 weeks in a row. Are you okay? Yeah. That even that little question can sometimes prevent burnout, because you're like, I realize that this is a season. Yeah. How can I help you make sure that you're in next week for church? So I'm just observing.
This leads in right into the next one. I think slow down and stop.
Yep.
When we're recording in February, the week before the Super Bowl. But leading into the season, starting in January, we merged with a church, and it's been incredible. But for 3-4 months, our church was fully portable for the first time ever.
Welcome to my world.
Yeah, I'm not built for it, bro. You're stronger than me. But I had a member who I love dearly grab me by the arm one week and just looked me in the face and said, "Hey, you're going too fast." And I thought that they said that because they cared about me. But I realized after talking to them, and the people in your church where it's like they're not a leader per se, but they're a leader in influence.
Yeah.
They said, I said, "Hey, I'm sorry. Like, thank you for caring about me." And they just kind of, yeah, no, I was actually saying, like, you're not really slowing down enough to like love your flock. And they weren't even criticizing me. It was just an observation. And in my hand, I had like a box of batteries and I had like a sign that needed to go out or something. And I like had a backpack on. And I was just like, it's like the kid in Up. I am a wilderness explorer. Have you seen that movie?
I have.
I was completely unequipped for the actual job of pastoring because I was too busy. I was doing too much.
Yeah.
So I made it a goal to go. I started going in earlier, like 40 minutes earlier to get stuff done.
Yeah.
Which sucked, honestly. But in doing that, I was around. Those 20 minutes before service. There's a pastor out in Seattle, Alex Early. He's like writes cookbooks and he's a pastor.
Okay.
And he's huge on this idea, this ministry of like presence, ministry of fellowship. He said that the sermon starts the 20 minutes before service starts. It takes a pause during worship and resumes during the sermon. And that kind of idea came to my mind when that person said to me, I'm like, I need to be present and love my people and not just be Sonic the Hedgehog darting around the space. So
Yeah, I think,
slow down.
I think you brought up a really good point about preparation. The way we as leaders slow down is by preparing what we can in advance. So maybe it does mean getting to the church 15 extra minutes instead of coming in hot right before. Yeah. Like if it takes you an hour to get ready for the service in whatever context you're at, or an hour to get ready for the ministry, coming in an hour and 15 minutes earlier versus the hour. So you just have some time to stop. And linger. And we struggle with this as a church plant, and not to elaborate on this one, but I really think this actually might be one of everything else kind of falls out of this, in my opinion. Like if there's a linchpin habit to care for your people, listening, greeting, and what we're going to share for the fourth one all flow out of our pace of ministry Sunday morning. Yeah. What I was saying was like in our early in our church plant, we're just always trying to put things up and put things together. And I hadn't delegated and trained well. So like if anything broke, there were specific things that I only knew how to put together. And cause I lean technologically like minded.
You're very tactile.
Yeah. I've got some things I can fix, and I kind of, our system's slightly MacGyvered cause I'm cheap. So like,
I feel that.
I know it's finickiness. Like it's like, you know how to start the old car, like you kick it in this spot and that sort of thing. So like, there's just all the little things I know about. And so I could find myself running right up to like 30 seconds before our service starts and like just doing either worship practicing or doing things. And then like the service starts, you preach a little longer than you should have. And then immediately you got to turn around and start like tearing down. And that leaves no margin for walking slowly and being slow and intentional with anybody, let alone the people who are actually making ministry happen. So I wish I knew who said this, but, somebody said, and I read it in a book, the best practice a pastor can do is walk slowly through his lobby and just like stop and talk to the people, ask them how they're doing. And so I think that intentional slowness, like you said, and you're right. Sometimes you're carrying batteries and water bottles and all the random things, but learning to be slow. Have you ever read Patterson's, book on that subject? Now here we are.
Patterson.
I'm not Eugene Patterson. He had like a book about being unhurried in that regard. And I can't remember what it's called. So I'll have to look it up, but you're looking lost. So that's okay.
Eugene
Peterson. No. Yeah. All right. Never mind. I'm
Presbyterian guy.
Yes.
Yeah. Eugene Peterson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
This is our afternoon recording too.
Yeah. I'm sorry. You said Eugene Patterson, and I was like, I'm even more lost now, unless you mean Eugene Peterson.
All right. We don't edit these episodes, but my little random there, we might edit it out. So I think he talked about just the being more present with our people. So let's go to the fourth one, which I guess is me. Be very quick and very regular in how you share specific encouragement. Yeah. So just to review, greet them, welcome them, thank them every Sunday if you can. Listen and observe what's going on, slow down. But then I think we need to not just say hi, and not just listen, but I think we need to notice what they're doing and move that towards specific and notable encouragement. And one of the verses that I kind of come to mind is Hebrews 3:13. Encourage each other daily while it was still called today, so that none of you is hardened by sin's deception.
Wow.
And we can apply that in a ton of contexts, right? But I think that the people that we lead, the people that we care for on Sunday, are coming probably at an encouragement deficit.
Right.
I mean, how many of us are like, man, I'm always fully encouraged? Like, how many people do you know that are like, I just have all the encouragement I need? Most people that we engage with come in Sunday, and you can see it on their faces.
Yeah.
They've been beat up all week long.
Yeah. They've
had a fight with their kids to get their shoes on. They're serving in a nursery where a kid's been screaming at them for 45 minutes. Or they just they've been dealing with this or that because they're trying to love families by letting them worship. So looking for specific ways to breathe encouragement into ministry leaders, because it might be the only time you see them physically that week.
Right. I see 90% of my people in a 2-hour span every week.
Exactly. Yeah.
Even if I'm super active, and that's counting in staff meeting.
Yep.
On the week we have our staff meeting, pastors meeting, and I meet with 9 guys. I'm still only seeing 10% of my church in that week.
Right.
Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Sunday, all of them.
They're there.
Yeah.
So learning how to utilize that time to give specific encouragement. And so, for me, it's, I think noticing what they're doing well, and rather than just saying, good job, buddy, appreciate you. I mean, that's better than nothing.
But it doesn't mean much.
It doesn't mean much.
I remember hearing an empty comment is like a balloon. It looks pretty and then it pops. Or an empty compliment. Like if you're like, hey, good job, and you're non-specific and it's just generalized, it's like they see the balloon, it's like, ah, and then a minute later it's like, wait, what? And then you just have air.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It feels good for a second.
Filling them with hot air.
Yeah. It's like a diet, right? There's candy and protein. Like what's going to sit with you the longest?
Definitely the Snickers bar.
Well,
you're not you when you're hungry.
There's technically some protein in a Snickers bar.
There's nuts in a Snickers bar.
But there's protein in nuts. Yeah. So, but.
Yeah. What is in a Snickers bar?
Caramel, chocolate, something else.
Is it like walnuts or almonds or?
I think it's just regular peanuts.
I'm Googling it. Snickers bar.
That is not what needs to be on this podcast right now.
No, it does. It does. There's a reason I asked this.
Okay.
I love those commercials. I'm making this matter.
Okay.
I'm a pastor.
We can make anything matter.
No, but seriously, there's those commercials where it's like, you're not you when you're hungry. And it's like, there'll be a diva. Or I remember one where it was like a NFL player was acting like a princess or something. And it's like, you're not you when you're hungry. I actually think that is abundantly true about the people in our church. So everyone in our church is hungry for validation, approval, affirmation, encouragement. And I think we have the opportunity as pastors, as ministry leaders, to actually provide that in a Christ-centric, honoring way. But if we're not specific, it doesn't help. I remember seeing a parody of that Snickers commercial.
Yeah. And
it's like, you're not you when you're hungry. And they like shoved a Snickers in this guy's mouth. And he's like, I'm allergic to peanuts. So if you're not actually giving encouragement that's genuine and tailored to the person, all you're actually doing is giving them something.
Yeah.
You should give them the right thing.
And we could do a whole podcast on how to give good encouragement. And we probably should, but
the Snickers bar podcast.
No, I love that. You're not you when you're starved from encouragement. Because there is a hardening.
Yeah.
That if you think if you're unseen and unencouraged and uncared for, like criticism, discouragement, frustration.
What if some of the issues you're having with members in your church is actually because of your inability or lack of willingness to love them and provide what you're supposed to? That
hurts.
Right. But we just had a pastor's meeting. One of our pastors was talking about a leader in our church who's a great guy, but the guy, they're struggling to do some of the things they do as a deacon. And one of our pastors looked at him and said, hey, what's this person's like biggest prayer need? Where are they the most hurt? What are they praying for every morning right now? And the pastor was like, I don't know. And this is a good pastor. And the other pastor said, brother, I'll be honest. I don't think you love him enough to criticize him.
This is one of your pastors?
Yeah, and one of my deacons.
That's so good.
And that made me think of the Snickers bar thing. Like, they're hungry for something. And maybe the reason there's conflict or criticism, like we talked about in another episode, is because we're not actually feeding them specific, tailored encouragement.
Yeah. And I would even loop back to the word daily.
Yeah. So
Like timeliness matters. Like if you wait, the old annual review, right? If you wait once a year to when you sit down and talk about like, here's all the good things I saw this year. No, it needs to be like as much as in the moment or a text message. I'll give you a really practical example. We had a brand new kids person this week teaching our like we have lead teachers and assistant teachers and whatever. First time church, been a part of our church for about 6 months, 7 months. First time lead teaching a kids ministry. And I heard from 3 people that he did an incredible job. I saw the church photos. There's just high energy. Either that next day or that later that afternoon, I sent him a text and said, I've heard from so many people that you just crushed it. You brought energy. The kids loved you. You connected well. And I tried to get, from not actually seeing it myself, I tried to get as specific as I could. And I just wanted to get that to them as possible.
Yeah.
Help a ministry leader out. Since we got a little extra time on this podcast, what are some of the specific things you look for as you give encouragement? How can we move from general to specific?
One thing is role-based, people-oriented.
Okay.
My favorite compliments to receive, and not everybody's like me, so I don't mean that just in like a weird...
Know the people you're leading too.
Yeah.
What are they going to receive?
Right. But not to like make it self-centered. But a lot of times the things that... Ministry leaders are going to love this, but the pastors might not like this. Every October, Pastor Appreciation Month, I see the posts, blah, 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 pastors % quit, and blah, blah, blah. And I think it's healthy that we're talking about these things now. But a lot of the things that pastors want to quit because of, they're doing to their staff. You know, like pastors talk about like not feeling seen. I believe that. Pastoring can be lonely, but like we kind of sometimes like the crap rolls downhill. The things that you specifically if you're a pastor, that you crave, the ministry leaders in your church also crave. Mm-hmm. So like for me, I love compliments that are role-based. Like if you're going to encourage me or shit, like do it on something I do. Like don't tell me, hey, you really enjoyed church today. Cause that's all, praise God. That's like, I'm like 1/10 of that equation. Hey, I really, when you said that in the sermon, it really made me think, or I can tell you studied for this. Mm-hmm. That's great. But you know what a superstar compliment or encouragement is for me? Hey, when you said this, it made me think in my own life, and I'm grateful for you. Like it's like a kids worker. Hey, the way that you show up and love the kids and the amount of preparation you put in to make sure you have a quality lesson and quality activities, man, it's making an impact in those kids' lives. That kid who got baptized, that 10-year-old who got baptized, or 12-year-old, or whatever your theology says, who got baptized, a large part, I think, is because of how the Holy Spirit used you. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, like connect it to the missional win, which is people coming to know Jesus.
Worship leaders, that the way you shared that little scripture verse before the song just helped me worship.
The little one.
Yeah.
Not Ezekiel 16, the whole passage.
The keyboard player is just still playing the chords and they're still talking.
Every pastor's been guilty of that.
Hey, bro. I know. I am that. We make a joke at our church, like whenever I don't do announcements anymore. I used to, because I used to do everything. Yeah. But they're like, don't channel your inner Phil. Just tell us what we need to know.
That is not encouraging.
Well, it's true though, right? Sometimes we need that criticism, to go back to a previous podcast.
Yeah.
You know, one of the bonus things I was talking to my wife about this list before we were recording. It's like, hey, what are some of the things that would encourage you on a Sunday morning? And she actually said, here's a bonus thought for your podcast. So this is right out of Pam. She says, one of the ways to care for your people on Sunday morning is to, so this is 5th point.
Yeah.
Is to not use Sunday morning as a time for criticism and correction for the most part.
So good.
Like, if you see something that's wrong on Sunday morning, which you probably will, right?
You always will. I've never not, to be honest.
Like if a song was just not clicking with the worship team, like Sunday morning in person is a time for encouragement, for love, for value, for seeing, for thankfulness. I really believe that. And she's right. Correction and criticism and even to a degree aggressive coaching, like trying to move them, is probably better served at a different time. Because even if you say something the nicest way possible, there's no way that doesn't impact your worship.
Right.
It's like, hey, you kind of were someone's 10 minutes late to the greeting team, so like the door's not covered or something happens, you're like, man, you really need to be on time. Like even if you say it so nice. Yeah. And connected to the mission, they're thinking, man, I'm a loser. Or man, they don't love me, or they don't know that my car broke down. Like, so that's a good reminder that a way to care for people on Sunday morning is to keep the focus on caring for people.
So good.
And save the coaching for Tuesday or whenever your next staff meeting is.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree.
So ministry leader, you have an opportunity, and I think that's what we will hope you take away from this. When your people gather and the whole church is there, what kind of presence do you want to have? What kind of influence do you want to have? And how do you want people to walk away?
Yeah. Can I tell one story?
Absolutely.
One of my favorite books of all time is, which I didn't name in our book episode, is Burning in My Bones about Eugene Peterson.
Yep.
And in it, there's a story.
Isn't that who I just totally bombed the name on a second ago?
That's why when you did it, I was like, I'm literally talking about him, and I'm gonna get it right. If his family hears this, I'm a better fan. But Peterson, he in his book talked about how his dad his dad was like a butcher under like a butcher shop. His dad would go and deliver the meat to the local diners and whatnot, personally, because he would walk around town and hand it out. But he tells a story of his dad sitting at the shops, at the diner bar, eating key lime pie. Mm-hmm. And he talks about how like someone would walk by and say, "Oh man, he's never working," or even employees at times at the butcher shop would be like, "Man, where's the owner?" And the point Peterson makes is that pastors should be aggressively unbusy. They should read books that don't have anything to do with their sermon. They should be found dreaming and thinking in their office. That a pastor should live a life that's slow enough that they can actually engage people. Why? Because souls can't be hurried. That relationship is the key point. So why did his dad sit at the bar and eat the key lime pie? Because his dad knew that relationships are what would foster business. For us, relationships are often what God will use. Your relationships with the people in your church is often what God will use to help them follow him better. So slow down, because souls can't be hurried.
Mm-hmm. And most of the ministry that I've had the most impactful moments tend to be in those interruptions with people on Sunday morning. Like they were not planned, right? They're just moments. Hey, a little fun fan fact about Eugene Peterson. Where we are going to have lunch after we do some recording today, he planted a church in our community right here, about 3 miles from where we are right now.
Is it still alive?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. It's still the Presbyterian church he planted here in Bel Air.
Wow.
So we don't get a chance to drive by it, but if you're curious, right down the street. So, hey, ministry leader, encourage your people. Use that strategically. And I would say this: take some time to pray as you sit in the car in your church parking lot, your ministry parking lot, whatever event you're going in, that God would give you a vision to love people and see them and to care for them, like to be intentional about it. So thanks for tuning into this episode of the Ministry Mix. If you found today's content valuable and this discussion helpful to you, make sure that you subscribe to our podcast so you don't miss any of the future episodes. If you could, we'd love it if you take a minute to like and review this, so that way your feedback and your interaction can help get this podcast before more leaders just like you. If there's somebody in your church or your ministry that needs to be encouraged, or you want to help learn from this, send them a text message, let them know, share it with them. If you got questions or topics you'd like to hear about, connect with us on social media, let us know. But until next time, keep leading with purpose and caring for your soul.
Peace out.